be benefited. Let our students be helpful for everything, whatever they need to choose in their career. Thank you for the authorities. Thank you for the session. Thank you for the time, the students, and our three lovely lawyers who have come in to talk to us. Bless them and take care of this evening. Into thy hands we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Angie ma'am. So now I request our Sangeeta ma'am, our headmistress from Bethany High, Sarjapur, to say a few words.
Thank you, Manisha. Good evening, everyone. Special welcome to our alumni, Mr. Bala, Ms. Rashmi, and Ms. Priyanka to this platform. It's a pleasure to have you with us for this PATH session. PATH is an acronym for Pursuing with Alumni, Targets with Hope, and it is a wonderful initiative by Bethany institutions to connect with our esteemed alumni from various diverse professions, and in turn, connect them with our high school, NIOS, and junior college students so as to give our students an insight into various career paths. We all know that students are at a crossroads in their lives during their high school and junior college phases. They go through so much of confusion about which career path to choose. It is a roller coaster ride for sure. But by doing these sessions, not only will our students benefit by the experiences and guidance by our alumni, but as a school, we have been able to build, network, and reconnect with so many of our past students. It has also been encouraging for the school to understand from our alumni the role that their alma mater has played in their lives, and that the values of the institutions have always stood with them in good stead. We previously had sessions with alumni from fields such as counseling, information technology, performing arts, and today we have Mr. Bala Nikit, Ms. Rashmi Subramania, and Ms. Priyanka Rao, who are lawyers by profession, and we look forward to hearing from them about their journey, experiences, and their inspirations to take up their chosen career. So we welcome you once again and look forward to the rest of this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. So we'll start today with Rashmi. The introduction part of it. We have with us Rashmi Subramania. She is from the class of 2004. After completing her BA LLB, Rashmi is working as a senior consultant with the firm Messrs. King and Partridge Advocates. Rashmi, welcome to the session today.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to be here today.
Absolutely. And the second alumni that we have with us is Bala Nikit, who is from class of 2005. Currently, Bala is associated with ALMT Legal in Bangalore, working along with a very senior advocate, Arvind Kamath. Bala has written several articles that are published in law journals and several websites. The third alumni we have today is Priyanka Rao, who is from the class of 2009. After completing her law degree, Priyanka is currently working at the corporate office of MD&T Partners. Once again, our immense thanks to the alumni to be present today for the session for our students. And over to you, Alita, for the question and answer part.
Thanks, Manisha, and welcome once again, Bala, Rashmi, and Priyanka. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us. I know that the students will greatly benefit from hearing from you. So let's start the Q&A session. The students sent us a couple of questions through the Google Forms that we sent out to them. So these are from the students themselves. I thought we would do it one after the other. So Bala, I'll ask the questions the students have for you first, and then we can move to Priyanka and Rashmi. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay, perfect. Just a minute, Bala. I'll just spotlight you so everyone's seeing. Okay, great. Okay, the first question to you, Bala, is what is the difference between corporate law and criminal law?
See, there are two different they're totally different branches of law. Corporate law generally deals with anything to do with companies, any corporate entity, any legal framework related to a corporate entity would fall within the realm of corporate law. So typically, once you pass out from from your law school, generally the first thing that of late the students are incentivized to do is get a corporate job in some law firm. So that is something. There's a lot of incentive because you get a good pay package, you get some sort of security, and it is a pan-India operation. So you can work from Delhi, Bombay, from Bangalore. So you can do these transactions and advise on these transactions from wherever you're from India. While criminal law is morely based from the place where you want to start your practice or where your practicing is from. So in corporate law, you may not be required to appear in court. You may have to just advise either the company in which you're working or the firm's clients in the transactions that go on. While criminal law is more or less based on what we generally see, what is visible to the general populace, that is the typical offenses of murder, anything related with the Indian Penal Code would fall within the realm of criminal law. So there are two separate branches of law, that is corporate law and criminal law. So it is the candidate's choice once he finishes law school to decide which path that he wants to specialize in. So there are several other parts also. We have constitutional law, we have civil law, and of late we have a lot of commercial law matters because of the Commercial Codes Act. So there are several other things. There is a small element of litigation in corporate law, that is anything to deal with the winding up or the operation or the affairs of the company. When a person is aggrieved by certain affairs of the company, then they may have to approach the tribunals which are set up now. There is a company law board tribunal which more or less governs these issues which arise with respect to any disputes that arise from companies. So that is corporate law. And criminal law is your traditional practice where there is a state, there is a public prosecutor, you would appear for the accused, and if you would appear for your client to help him get acquitted. So so there are two different separate branches of law. So that's the difference between corporate and criminal law.
Right. Thank you, Bala, for answering that so clearly and giving us the difference between both. The next question to you, Bala, is: are junior lawyers treated well by the seniors? Do they teach them all that is required, or just make them run errands?
I think seeing Rashmi smiling. Yes, junior lawyers are treated very well by seniors. That being said, I think if the question is that whether we are asked to make tea and give it to our seniors, no, that is not how it is, and that is not how it is in Bangalore, because I practice in Bangalore majorly, but I have also practiced in Delhi for a very short while. So of late, that hereditary law offices that we see, where the grandfather was a lawyer or a judge, his son becomes a lawyer, that is slowly disseminating, and people are more open to have freshers, to have new ideas, and the major laws that you see now are actually undergoing new change. There are new amendments, there are new enactments. So everyone is a fresher. Even a 60-year-old gentleman who has been practicing for so many years is actually a fresher to that course. Our Companies Act, the Commercial Codes Act, these are all very new enactments. So, so keeping that in mind, there is, and I can personally tell you that the High Court of Karnataka, especially the Bangalore bench, they are far more open and welcoming to junior lawyers in presenting their briefs. In fact, the recently we have about 10 elevations, and all of them before whom I have personally appeared, they are very open and they do not insist that the senior himself has to argue.
Right.
So if the concern is that whether as a junior you would get an opportunity, would you get your face value? Yes, you will get that. But yes, we are right. The legal field is in a transition mode. You may find yourself with seniors who have thought that it would be better that they handle the brief themselves. So it depends on which senior that you appear with, but it is very rare that you would actually see some junior actually doing some sort of clerical work for his senior. Plus, it also depends the kind of office that you join. For example, if you join a startup law firm, at that point of time, you may be required to do even clerical work. And there's nothing wrong to it. It is something that you have to learn. The office that I joined, my seniors, we had clerks. There was no necessity for me to photocopy anything or to do stitching or paginate it. But my senior advised me that, look here, 10, 20 years down the line, you're going to start your own office. And when you start your own office, you will not have the capital to engage a clerk to keep him. So at that point of time, you would have to learn these things. You will have to know where the papers have to be presented. So we have to take that in the flow.
Right. So there is some value in doing these things as well.
Yes, there is no small jobs in law. I'm sure it is in every profession, but especially in the legal profession, there is no small job. Even as simple as going and mentioning a matter in the morning for it to be heard earlier or to be heard after 2 days, you get some sort of experience, because you only get a time span of 2 to 3 seconds to convince the judge that, look here, my matter has to be taken up today. So and if you're successful, that sort of satisfaction that you get and the confidence, I am sure that it will help you in going and making your briefs and your further appearances better.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah, thank you, Bala. Thank you for that answer. The third question to you, Bala, is which is the best college for law? I think the student intends to ask in the Indian context, but
yes, there are. I think the best college of law. Any student who's passed out from his law university will prefer his college as the best college. I passed out from one university called HNLU, Hidayatullah National Law University. In my opinion, I found that really good. I would say, in my opinion, it's best. But if you consider the rankings from the last 10 years, there are two universities that has always been at the helm. First is our very own National Law University, which is in Nagarbavi. So that is well sought after. The second one is NALSAR, the one that is in Hyderabad. These two are actually have been at the helm and have been continuously in the rankings that are by India Today and by a lot of other legal journals and legal portals that have recently opened up. So I believe that they have good professors, good facilities. But that being said, I do understand why this question has come up, because when you're in 10th standard and seeing the scenario, the pressures that are on the student to always go to the best law school does have some value. But at the same time, please remember, NLS and NALSAR has a very limited intake. They can only cater up to maybe 350 together per year, if I'm not wrong. So, and please remember, there are around 2.5 lakh students who are writing CLAT every year, and that is the first chance. So don't get crestfallen, or that you have not got an opportunity to study in these universities. I think CLAT itself, the Common Law Entrance exam itself, is a very good opportunity where these students get an opportunity to study in some of the top law colleges in India. And the Bar Council of India itself takes a lot of care to ensure that each and every law university that falls in CLAT, their curriculum, their internships, their practicals are curated to help students make the best choice.
Right.
So apart from the top two, you can look for any of the national law universities. I would you keep that as your first target. Even
Right.
assuming you do not get into that, please remember that most of the judges in the Supreme Court, in the High Court, are not pass outs of these universities. So, and most of the lawyers that are heard in newspapers are not pass out of these universities. So if they can make it, I am sure anyone else can do it. All right.
Thank you, Bala. I hope Bala's answer cleared it up for some of you that were asking this question. The next question to you, Bala, is what is your typical work day like?
Okay, so there is no typical work day for lawyers. We are always on call. I think a little bit of background here. Unlike other professions, for let us say in medicine, your client is your boss. All right. In engineering, your boss is your boss. But for us, our boss is the judge, the person who sits there. It's not our client. It is not. It is not our immediate seniors or in the firm or in the office. So, as a lawyer who's practicing in litigation, our typical day life, we don't have a 9 to 5 job. We work throughout the day and throughout the week. So, unlike if you're here for a 9 to 5 job, then you can try going into the corporate practice of firms where they generally do not appear before courts, but they deal with transactions, especially with private equity or any sort of corporate mergers, demergers, or some sort of negotiations. So there you will have you can say that my typical day is I log in to office around maybe 9 o'clock and I maybe log out at maybe 8:30 at night. But for a lawyer who is in litigation, he works throughout the day, throughout the night. We, in fact, I'm sure Rashmi knows this. If you are briefing any of the senior counsels, please note that your briefings will always be at 10:30. It starts at 10:30 at night. So we have briefed senior counsels in the morning also at 2 a.m. because the matter is listed the next day. We can't say, sorry, I didn't have time to brief any counsel, or ourselves getting ready for the matter. So so it becomes your way of life, actually. It kind of becomes your way of life. It may not sound as rosy as you guys wanted, but trust me that you will enjoy it. I mean, unlike any other profession, you will enjoy being a practitioner of law. So please trust me on this point.
Thanks, Bala. I'm sure it took a lot of passion in this field for you to really push through and do what you're doing right now. Thank you so much. Last question to you, Bala, is top 3 pieces of advice for someone aspiring to do law.
Actually, you kind of answered the first one. It's passion. You really need to have passion. Do not think that you need to have a lineage to get into law. I myself am an example. I don't have anyone else from the legal background who kind of helped me, but we are able to do it, and we can do it. So lawyers are someone who should have passion for what you're doing. It could be the smallest of the smallest cases. Your case may not be a constitutional case like the hijab case. You may not be fighting on the issue of protecting someone's rights. But for that client, you are his God. For him, you are someone who is going to get him what he wants. So you should have that passion, that empathy for him. At the same time, also maintain the professional ethics. I'm sure the minute you join your law school or a law university, they will teach you about this. But if you do not have passion, then really you may have to look elsewhere. So my first advice is please have passion for it. The second and third advice is something I think may be applicable to all different kind of professions. You need to work like a donkey. There is no substitute for it. You may have the greatest memory, you may be able to recall 10,000 things. Even if you have that ability, hard work is the only thing that is going to let you go through. It can, your ability to remember citations, to remember old case laws to cite in your favor is not going to help you until and unless you have burned the midnight oil. So second one would be, you should be having that zeal to do hard work, and you must be hardworking. So we had the opportunity to work under two senior counsels, and one is Mr. Dhyan Chinappa. Oh, sorry, three. One is Mr. Dhyan Chinappa, one is Mr. Arun Kumar, and third is Mr. Arvind Kamath. And all of them, I have known them prior to them being designated as senior counsels and after. And please believe me that after they have become senior counsels, they work even more harder. While the impression is that, look here, senior counsels are someone, everything is made. The junior does everything for him, and he just needs to read out that piece of paper. But they work 10 times harder than we do. So hard work should be imbibed in you. And I'm sure as that process, that portion of hard work and passion is already consciously and unconsciously imbibed for the simple reason you guys are all Bethanites. So it is there. You will just realize it. It may sound very cheesy and corny, but maybe 5 years or 10 years down the line, you will realize it is there somewhere. And the third advice is, do not compare yourself with other professions. Please don't do that. Do not compare yourself with your own compatriot who's doing engineering. He may be earning, he may have got a very plus job. He may be, deputed in Switzerland. So all these things, compare yourself only with yourself. See that 1 year ago, where were you? And 1 year ago, where were you? I think law is the only profession where your career graph can actually go high. You have the ability to move your career graph whichever manner and however big. You can go not only till the High Court, you can go to the Supreme Court, you can go to the International Court of Justice, and who knows, tomorrow if there is a galaxy, planets worldwide, you may even go there. So this option and this change of diverting career graph, you do not get in any other profession. Please keep that in mind. If you're a doctor, if you're an engineer, if you're a nuclear biologist, if you're a food industrialist, so all these things, they have an upper limit, unlike law. So because every aspect that you're surrounded, there is a law. Zoom, we are on Zoom now. There is a law already. There are guidelines. Morning when you get up and brush your teeth, that brush, there is a law. What should be the weight of the brush? What materials have to be used? And it may not be visible. So it's like the minute you become a lawyer, all these things start making sense. So there is a rationale why your toothbrush is actually packed in a particular manner. Why the MRP, which is very elusive, is at one particular point. So there is a rationale behind everything. And more than a rationale, there is a law, there is a regulation, and there is someone who's enforcing all of these things. So please, I hope comparison is something you may have to avoid. It is very natural. I myself have been a victim to it. But the thing is, it is always better to compare yourself with yourself. That way, you can always grow up, and you will see that life is far more beautiful and enjoyable in profession and in person. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Bala. Thank you for answering that question. Thank you for sharing from your life and your journey. I'm sure that this is enhancing the students and their choices in the future.
My Zoom crashed. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Priyanka. Okay, Priyanka, the next set of questions are for you. I'm just going to quickly spotlight you. Okay, Priyanka, question 1 for you. Can one do law after 12th grade?
Yes, you would ideally do your law after the 12th standard. So most colleges in India offer an integrated course. So previously, you would do a 3-year course, which would be your BCom or BA, and then do another 3-year course, which is your LLB. So in total, you would spend 6 years studying. However, things have changed now, and most colleges offer an integrated 5-year course. So you start studying law immediately after your 12th standard. So you would get the course would be like a BA LLB or a BA LLB. So you'll study your non-law course alongside with your law course. You'd have about 5 to 6 subjects per semester, and you would start off with relatively simple topics of a general introduction to law, among others, in your first semester, and then slowly pick up. And by the time you graduate, you've completed numerous law papers. So ideally, you would start your law education immediately after your 12th standard.
Right. Okay. So in the process, you're getting 2 degrees at once, right? But it's an integrated program. Okay. Thanks, Rashmi. Thanks, Priyanka. The next question is, what are the pros and cons of practicing law freelance or privately?
So the first thing is to be able to practice freelance or privately or having your own independent practice is you should have the knowledge and the capabilities. So to reach that point, you ideally shouldn't start by yourself. So you choose what is the field that you want to get in. Would you like to get into litigation, which is where you appear before courts and prepare cases, or would you want to go for a corporate setup where you'll be dealing with corporate transactions, among other things? So you spend some time being trained by your seniors or your partners, depending on which organization you are in. You pick up the skills, you pick up the capabilities, you pick up the knowledge, and then you start independently. So independently works great, especially in litigation, because you are your own boss. You decide what has to be done. You decide the course of the case. You decide what is the strategy that has to be applied in each case. In a corporate field, it would, like most organizations, would be looking for another organization, but in the litigation field, you can definitely set up your own practice. Apart from being your own boss, so you decide everything. You meet clients, you tell them what you think is the course of action that has to be taken for each case. You'll also have that much responsibilities on yourself, so you will make sure that you read some more. You have to pick out the best option, like that. And then you also get the perks of being your own boss. So you work at a time that's convenient for you, among all that. But before you reach that sort of stage, you have to ideally be trained a little bit, because being a lawyer is a very serious job. You are dealing with people's problems and you're looking to help them. So you should offer them the best solution possible.
Right. Thank you, Priyanka. Sorry, I had a bit of trouble with my Zoom as well. The third question to you, Priyanka, is there any way that I can do law and join the army?
Yeah, so the army offers something called a Judge Advocate General, called a JAG. So after you finish your law course, you have to give the JAG exam. And then if you clear that and all the specifications as required under the JAG exam, you will be drafted into the army. So you will then work within the army, advising the army in military matters, in the legal aspects of the matter. If there's any court-martial, then you would take part in those proceedings. So you can join the army as an advocate and be drafted within the army itself. You'll have to look up something called the JAG exam. So that would be how you would get into the army as a lawyer.
Right. So whichever student asked this particular question, I hope that this answers your question. Thank you, Priyanka. The next question to you is...
Anita, 1 second, Anita. Priyanka
Yes,
thinks
sir.
that I didn't get that exam that you have to do to get into the army. JAN, is it?
Yes, it's called Judge Advocate General.
Oh, Judge Advocate General. Okay, okay.
So
Judge.
yeah, so after you finish your 5-year law course is when you are eligible to give this JAG exam.
Okay, okay, okay.
So you have to complete your law course, and there's a certain age requirement as well. I think up till 7 years of age, you can give this exam. Yes.
I hope our students are listening, because this is another area where they can explore to join the army as a lawyer.
Right. Yes, students, I hope that you have your books with you and you're taking note of it somewhere. Priyanka, the students also want to know what a typical work day is like for you.
So, like Mr. Bala said, if you are in the litigation sphere, and I was in the litigation portion for a bit, it's a long day. You would start your day by first you'd go to your office, whether it's your own office or the office where you work with, and a lot of mental preparation, and you would prepare yourself for the day. You would then go to court. Court would start at around 10:30 or 11 o'clock, depending what time it is. You will have your appearances in court, and that can go on till 4:35 in the evening. Once you're done with court, you come back to the office and you start preparing for the next day's matter. You will also meet clients, because you'll have to update them as to what has happened during the day, or you'll have new clients to meet. And then you'll have to do a lot of reading to read for your cases for the next day to prepare. That is if you are in the litigation aspect. If you are doing corporate law, it's just pretty simple. You would go into office at a certain time, and you will run through all the work that you have, and you will have fixed timings, but generally work spills over. So one thing, like Mr. Bala said, is you have to be prepared for a lot of reading and a lot of hard work. And if you enjoy your job, then it doesn't feel like a long day.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I think that Bala as well answered this question to some extent, but a question to you that's also come up, Priyanka, is what is the general sequence of progression to climb up the ladder in this career?
Okay, so see, if you, as a lawyer, and there are various aspects. So when you say sequence of progression, say if you're to the litigation aspect, you would be working as a junior lawyer somewhere. You would, if you are in a firm culture, then you'd probably, after a certain period of time, become a senior partner, senior associate. That depends on how firms structure themselves. If you're an independent advocate, you become your own boss, and you work hard. There are also options for career-wise to join the judiciary, to become a judge. So for that, if you complete 3 years of practice and you give a competitive exam, you can become the judge of a junior level. If you give another 7 years of practice, then you can become a district judge. You also have, after numerous years of practice, you can be elevated to the High Court judge. So there is no fixed trajectory on what is the level, how you can rise up. It is just a lot of hard work, and it is a path you choose. So if you decide that you would like to get into the judiciary, then you would work towards those competitive exams. If you decide that you want to be a senior advocate, and then you would just keep working hard and try to get as many cases as possible. And if you are in a firm and you want to climb up the ranks in the firm, then you would work accordingly. So you can't compare it to any other profession, saying this is the goal I want to reach, because in law, every person's path is different from another's, and you cannot compare yourself to anybody else.
Right. Right. So ultimately, it really depends on each individual and what they choose for themselves. But
Yes.
like both you and Bala mentioned, there is no real end point or a goal to reach. Right. You could keep going higher and higher as much as you would like to, and as much as you're willing to put in the hard work and passion.
Yes. So there's a very often said thing about law is you're not running a 100-meter race. You're in here for a marathon. So you want to just keep going and doing the best. And that's the best part about law is you can do it for the rest of your life. There is no age restriction or anything. So it's a marathon. You just keep doing it every day.
Yeah. Thanks, Priyanka. Thanks for beautifully giving us that analogy as well. I'm sure the students are able to understand this in a better way now. Thank you for answering your set of questions gracefully and giving us insight. Rashmi, okay, Rashmi, your first question is, have you ever found it hard to defend yourself in a case of personal crisis?
This is an interesting one. So I'm guessing personal crisis would mean only like a personal matter or something in your personal life. I feel being a lawyer when there's a personal crisis, it doesn't really, help you much because there's a personal crisis. So, you're not going to be the most logical and the most reasonable at that time. So I would say no, but generally in life, I feel the skills that I have developed as a lawyer has helped. When you're dealing with people generally, your logical reasoning you develop as a lawyer. So that really, really helps you in life. You learn to listen to people rather than speak. You're more of a listener than reactionary. That really helps. So there are a lot of these skills that you pick up when you are a lawyer that really help you in life, but not specifically when it's a personal crisis. I think that's an extreme situation, and I don't think, any of these skills may come to the fore then. But otherwise, your negotiating skills, your logical reasoning, all of that helps you.
Okay, thanks, Rashmi. Thanks. The second question to you is being a lawyer a dangerous profession, especially when you're involved in a case with dangerous people who could cause harm to you in order to win a case?
Okay, so that has not been my experience. I've been doing this for 11 years now, and I have never felt, I have never been scared, I have never been endangered, nothing of that sort. But I must put a caveat here. This does not happen. And to my knowledge, I haven't heard of it happening to other people as well. But the caveat over here that I'm going to put is I practice on the civil side. So there are some instances which we've all seen in the newspapers or on television when you practice on the criminal side. And there are some high profile cases. There have been instances of, unfortunately, some harm being caused to lawyers. That's very unfortunate, but that's few and far apart. I don't think this happens regularly. No. So it's not a dangerous profession at all.
Okay. So you haven't heard of anyone being threatened or feeling threatened in any situation?
No, not at all. Because see, the other thing with lawyers is if I feel threatened, I can always hand back the wakalat to the client and say, go and engage another lawyer.
Right.
Right. If a client is not giving me any instructions, is not paying me my fees, I can give them the wakalat back to them and tell them, go and engage another lawyer, and they'll have to go and find their own way. So usually clients don't really threaten lawyers. But yeah, like there are some high profile cases, some criminal cases where, it could happen, which we've seen in papers, but otherwise, no.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Rashmi. The third question to you is, did you always want to be a lawyer? What motivated you to take up this profession?
I have always wanted to be a lawyer. I think all the teachers in Bethany can attest to this because when we used to have our English language classes and we had to write letters as to anyone and sign off as to what you would be in the future, it would always be Rashmi Subramania, lawyer, High Court. I still have my 5th standard essay books. So I've always wanted to be a lawyer. What motivated me? So I'm a first generation lawyer, so I didn't have anyone to look up to in my own family. But like anyone else who's a first generation lawyer, you look to outside influences. And that for us mostly is television and movies. So initially it started off with that, watching a lot of Ally McBeal and The Practice that pushed me into, thinking about law as a career option. But I must say that what happens on television or what they show on television and in the movies is not what life is as a lawyer. It's extremely, extremely different. What pushed me from all this television watching and movies was the ability and the power to help people get what they deserve. And that holds true even to this day. I'm sure that's true even for Nikit and Priyanka, that the joy and satisfaction on your client's face when you win a case for them is unparalleled. When I joined this profession, there was this matter that our firm was handling, which was about 12 years old. And that client was exhausted. They were like, we're done with it. It was a huge property, but you get so frustrated with the process that they said, you know what, let's just give it up and walk away. And it was a huge amount to walk away from. So my partner gave me and another colleague this matter and said, please work on this. And, this client, is getting frustrated. Let's push it through. And so my colleague and I, we worked on it. We didn't take an adjournment in the matter. And finally, when that judgment came in our client's favor, he was so happy. That joy is like, you don't feel that anywhere else. The money doesn't give you the same satisfaction.
Mhm.
So I think that's what really motivates any lawyer every single day.
Yeah. So deep down, it was a need to fight injustice in some way, right? And
Yeah.
that sort of motivated you and drove you to. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rashmi. I think there's one last question for you. Oh no, we have two more questions for you, Rashmi. Are you allowed to choose your area of practice, or is it assigned to you? What are the different areas of practice in Indian law?
So the first part of the question, when you study law, you study all the branches of law. You're not typically allowed to choose anything. That's your undergraduate degree. You can specialize later on when you do your post-graduation into any particular area. It could be constitutional law, it could be arbitration. There are various branches. But work-wise, when you start working as a lawyer, I would say a lot of firms follow this practice where you do all the cases of any branch. It could be intellectual property rights, it could be constitutional law, it could be civil, it could be commercial, criminal, anything. This is to help you get a little taste of every branch of law, and then slowly you specialize. I think we live in an age of specialization. So after some years, whether you like it or not, you eventually end up specializing. So I started off doing all kinds of law and all kinds of cases, but now I've restricted myself to commercial and company law litigation, which is what I've realized is my interest area. As to the various branches of law, you have real estate law, which deals with conveyancing and property due diligence. You have intellectual property rights that deal with patents, copyrights, and design trademarks. You have company law, like Nikit said, deals with the framework of a company, the legal framework of a company. You have mergers, acquisitions, and so on. You have civil law, which deals with property disputes, any injunction suits. You have commercial law, which deals with contracts, contractual disputes. And you also have labor law, which deals with service matters, employee-employer disagreements, and so on. And you have tax law, which as a name deals with all kinds of taxes, indirect tax, direct tax, and so on. So firms don't usually insist that you get into one particular area of law. They usually give you like a couple of years to figure out your area of interest. And you're not required to take up any one particular area when you study. You have to learn all the branches of law, and then after you graduate, you can specialize.
Right. Okay. So Rashmi, when you talk about specialization, does that require further studying in a particular area of law, or is it just through practice and working extensively in that area?
It depends on what you end up doing. So if you go into if you go and do corporate law, for example, or competition law, and that's non-litigation, then you eventually end up having to do an LLM, which is your post-graduation degree. But if you do litigation, your specialization is typically only practice in one particular area. You don't have to really do a post-graduation degree if you're doing litigation. So it's only if you're going to academia or if you're doing non-litigation that you may end up having to do a post-graduation degree.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Rashmi. Students, again, I just want to remind you, I hope this is making sense and I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're putting it down somewhere. And if you have any questions for the alumni later as well, you could write to us and we can get in touch with them at any point to answer your questions as well. So if anything comes up, just put it down and reach out to either one of us, either Manisha or me, and we can always reach out to the alumni and get your questions answered better. Okay. All right. Last question to you, Rashmi. Is it better to study and practice law in India or internationally?
So I haven't practiced or studied internationally. I just think this depends. So I think I can talk about how it is in India. I think the law field right now in India, the legal field has tremendous potential. It's exciting. It's interesting. There are so many of us who are doing various kinds of things in law. You have so many opportunities other than litigation or just non-litigation. You have policy making. You can join an NGO. You have so many areas. The sky is your limit. And I think the same holds good even internationally. It's the same amount of hard work. It's the same amount of dedication and discipline required, regardless of where you practice. The only thing is, if you do an undergraduate degree in India and you want to go abroad and practice, you will have to do a post-graduation degree in whichever country you intend to practice, and B, you will have to learn the law over there and pass the bar exam over there, which involves a lot more hard work because you haven't studied the law of that particular country. The laws keep changing for each country. So it may be a little tedious if you have to go abroad and practice elsewhere. So then if any student is very clear that they want to go to the US and practice law over there, I would suggest doing your undergraduate degree over there as well. So it becomes easier.
Right.
Elita, there's just one thing that I want to say. In fact, when Nikit was talking, this struck me. This is so true. Nikit was talking about getting into, one of the students had a query as to which university is the best university for law. And Nikit was right in saying it's all the national law schools which are the best, and you should target into getting into one of those. But even like he said, even if you don't get into one of those, it's not the end of the world. From my own experience, like I said, I've always wanted to do law. So in my 10th standard, when I was still in Bethany, I had decided national law school it is. I am definitely going to get in. And I had started working towards that. And so when we had the exam that year, we didn't have CLAT. It was individual exams for each law school. When we had the exam that year, I missed it by 1.5 marks, 1.5 marks. So I decided, okay, fine, I'll do 1 year of law in University Law College, and I will study again and pick up the exam the next year. So I did it again, and I missed out by 0.5 mark. And this time I was crushed. Like, this was my dream, like since school, and I haven't achieved it. And I was really, really very sad. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck in a government law college now. And, I missed out on a national law school. I could have tried on the other law schools, which I didn't try. But after 5 years of government law school, and a lot of my peers in government law college will also tell you the same thing, that it does not matter from where you graduate at the end of the day. Please aim for the national law schools. Yes, they're very, very good. They give you a good step up in life. But even if that does not happen, you can make your own destiny. And, every education that you get in any law school will help you. So it's not the end of the world. If you really, really are passionate about the subject, you will do well.
Right. Thank you so much, Rashmi, for that piece of advice. And thank you to Bala and Priyanka as well for sharing your thoughts and sharing your journey with our students.
And thanks, Nikit, Rashmi, and Priyanka for the insightful and enriching session that we had. Robert, sir, we know that you were running a bit unwell today, but still you managed to come with us, which is our pleasure. We'd be thankful if you could just speak a few words, sir.
Yeah, after listening to our 3 budding lawyers, now I'm fully fit, and I don't mind changing my profession to become a lawyer. In fact, while I was in Bethany, I don't know if you all knew, I also did 1 year of law. Then I couldn't manage it with the work in school and also law, but it's not a law school like National Law School. I was enrolled in a evening class called the Ram Manohar Lohia Law College, but I was only able to do it for 1 year. I was really interested in law. But this afternoon, I just want to thank you, Bala, Rashmi, and Priyanka, for that wonderful, for this useful and wonderful inputs to our students. I hope our students will be listening, but we'll also put it on our website so that they can always, refer to those who want to join law. And, thank you for your time that you have given. I think it's quite a lot of time we have taken of yours. I don't know what your fees will be. Send us your bill, Rashmi, Bala, and Priyanka. But, let me tell you, Akash and I and our staff are very, very proud of you all as Bethanites. One last question is actually not a question, but any one of you can answer. What is how do you rate the importance of integrity when you practice law, especially when you're taking up cases for a client? Because sometimes we hear that, oh, this particular lawyer has been bought up. But I know, the Bethanites, after all the values that you have learned from Bethany, will never compromise on that. Just last month, there's been a little quarrel between a husband and wife, and the wife was saying that my husband has bought up these lawyers. So what can you just advise maybe our young listeners about the importance of integrity as a lawyer? And then I think that's my last point. Anyone can answer, any of you can answer, just very briefly.
Rashmi, you want to take this one?
Okay. I think it's very important. Integrity is extremely, extremely important in the profession. You have to avoid conflict of interest at every step of the way. But like Robert sir says, there may be stray instances like this, but I don't think that's a norm. You have to be very clear about who you're representing, why you're representing that person. You cannot interact with the other side, the other party to any case. It's extremely important to have integrity in the profession. We, like Nikit had said, this is taught under the subject professional ethics in your law course later on. So I do feel, yes, integrity is extremely important. Professional ethics are extremely important. If you are not ethical, you may get away with maybe one matter or two matters, but somewhere along the way, it's not going to help you. It will be detrimental.
Thank you, Rashmi.
I just have a small anecdote. Now that, sir, that you have brought it up, I'm just take a minute's time. This is actually very important. That is with ethics as a lawyer. This happened just 2 weeks back when I was meeting a client, and this client has been with the firm which I'm associated with for about 10 years now. And he had a couple of cases, the company in which he's staying, and recently, we didn't win the case because of whatever reasons. But nevertheless, this man kept coming back to us and giving a lot of mandates and handling his company on behalf of the client. We do tend to speak and address all their concerns. So, and in one of these meetings, we were deciding on the judgment that was not in our favor, and whether the company generally tends to engage another lawyer in appeal process. So then, as a lawyer, we had to ask them that what is the plan of action? Would you want to file an appeal? Do you want us to represent them? And he flatly said, yes, I want you guys to represent, because we know about your integrity. So we know that every case you may have good or bad points, but the fact that the lawyer, we trust the lawyer, and this can only happen if your integrity is known. And please remember, although there are so many lawyers, all lawyers know each other. In fact, every judge would have an opinion about a lawyer. So the world of lawyers is very small. So the minute if a lawyer has done something, we will hear about it. The judges would come to know about it, and it will cause some sort of embarrassment. So, and more importantly, I think the profession demands, and we call ourselves social engineers. Actually, we call ourselves social engineers of the society. So who we are, we have to stand by ethics. Even assuming that a point of law is not in your favor, you have to point out to the judge and say, my lords, recently Supreme Court has said this is the stand as of now, but I would like to persuade you that this stand may not be applicable to my facts of my case. And that is when you will grow as a lawyer, and the judges and your clients will appreciate this effort taken by you. So rather than hiding things and facts that are not in your favor, it is always better to open, because even if you hide it, the judge or your client will come to know about it. So integrity is the cornerstone of every lawyer. Please remember that. That's about it.
Thank you, Bala. So, in other words, also, you built that trust and respect from all quarters, from the judges, from your client, from your other colleagues. That's all I have. Thank you so much once again. Anything else? Want you all to keep in touch, Rashmi, Bala, and Priyanka, because those of our students who are aspiring to become lawyers, to join law school, may have queries even after they hear you. I think today being Sunday, all of them have not joined, but I think with your permission, they can get in touch with you. I think if there's any clarification that they need, or they can, Elita and Manisha can sort of take their queries and maybe get in touch with you all.
Sure, sir.
But I think you have clarified most of it. I think most of their doubts.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Robert, sir. Thanks a lot. And over to you.
Sorry,
Yes,
is it possible to take a photograph together with our three lawyers? I don't know who can do that.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, sir. I think in the end we can, sir. One of us will try and maybe
take a
screenshot.
screenshot. Exactly. Yeah. So, Elita, over to you now for the vote of thanks.
Sure, Manisha. Thank you. First, I would like to thank the Lord Almighty for making today's event possible. I would like to extend gratitude to our director, Akash sir, for his quiet support and guidance throughout. I would like to thank Robert sir for envisioning Path and for making sure it was brought to fruition this year. I thank Romola ma'am for taking initiative and spearheading Path and whose creativity inspired the name for this project. I would also like to thank all the heads of departments of high school, junior college and NIOS representing both main school and Sarjapur and the members of the panel for their support and guidance. Most importantly, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our alumni Bala, Priyanka and Rashmi for taking the time out to be with us and to invest in our students' lives. May you continue to have successful careers and God bless you in all your future endeavors. I would also like to thank, last but not least, our dear students for joining us today and for taking active part in today's session. We hope that you've benefited most from today. Thank you, Manisha, for moderating this session with me as well.